Today we're going to be fitting this recently purchased Cello 24-inch Smart Traveller TV into this very motorhome, namely a 1993 Talbot Express Auto Quest 320. And I've identified a spot. We're a bit pressed for space here, and it's going to be here. That's about the only space I can see where a flat screen may go. We have to remember that there's no provision for televisions in these vehicles. Originally, it had wiring in to put it on the bunks in the days where televisions were cube shaped. So I've got the TV out of the box and I'm just having a little bit of a trial fit, trying to work out exactly where to put it. There is no perfect place from what I've gathered. It's going to be in the way wherever I put it, I think. So I'm thinking here, and I think we'll just move it slightly away from that wall, just for good measure, maybe a centimetre away, and it just oversails this wall ever so slightly, but it shouldn't be an issue as there is some seating to walk round, so the risks of it getting knocked are quite slim. So I purchased a VESA bracket, and these are 100mm square. That's to go on the back of the TV just here, and it's designed to be removable so we can lift the television off and store it somewhere else whilst on the move potentially, or in long-term storage. So we've got to get it on the correct way, and this little bit here screws to the wall, which is a bit flexible, so I'm going to reinforce that. So the bracket did come with some screws and fixings. These are for walls, so we won't be using these. These are the ones I'm interested in. I didn't actually get any with the television, and we've got to think about it. See, that's the base of the TV there, like lifting it on. So we're just going to get everything in perspective. I want to bolt it the right way to the TV, so that just slots on like so, as if we're simulating lifting it from the wall. So we've now got the bracket screwed down, and one thing what's occurred to me is this hole here appears to be central, so we'll just check that with a tape measure. So we're looking, I would say it's around 26 centimetres to the edge of the TV, and it's about the same that way. And then widthway is in the region of 16, so that's an handy little reference point if it is central. I would say it is, yeah. It does actually include this part of the TV as well, so that's great. I've just had a little rethink. I'm thinking about going higher actually with the TV rather than lower. I think it's a more natural position, and we should still be able to reach the immersion heater there, which we've never used yet, and the gas for the boiler, which we don't really use, but we can still reach them just round the TV. So I've just come up with this idea. I've just taped the bracket there to the TV. It's a bit loose at the minute, but it will actually stick in quite well, and we've offered it up against the wall, and I know roughly where I want to be now, so we'll just refine that and make the first hole. So we've now got the first screw in there. I've just gone through that with a self-tapping screw. I didn't even need a drill. So this is quite thin, as you can see. It does a good job of flexing. So we are going to have to reinforce it, even though the TV is incredibly light. But it's a good initial screw to have a little test fit. So we've now got the TV hanging by one screw. I did have to fix it slightly lower, as the nature of the bracket is you lift the TV up and then it drops in, so I didn't account for that, so we're that much lower than we would have been. I don't particularly want to be looking at anything wonky whilst watching the television set, so I've put a spirit level on it, and then with a pencil I'm going to try and mark the rear of the bracket without knocking it. Do have a good check behind any cupboards you're screwing into. That is actually the head of the screw, so it's a lot thicker than what I were expecting, but it doesn't feel that strong. Here's the length of the screw. It's I would say it's around an inch, just shy of 2 centimetres. Yeah, we're actually exceeding 2 centimetres just, or a little less than an inch in imperial. So I'm just going to make this level before I fire the other 4 screws in, and I've just had a thought actually, it could all depend on how the van's parked. If you're on a slope this could be a little more challenging, but it is reasonably level. So that's all 4 screws in, and it just seemed to be really solid, but the good news is we haven't really deviated from the level marking. Well, I've made the decision to do away with these screws that came with it, and I've put an upgraded screw in which is biting a lot more securely, and it's even firmed where I'm screwing in up. It's a lot more flexible up here than it is here. So we'll put the TV on and see how it looks. So I'm reasonably happy with that. I can just foresee one problem, and it's here. So while I'm driving along, I think that's going to tap away and annoy me. So I'm thinking about one of them adhesive foam pads just to dampen that noise. So we'll now proceed with the rest of the installation. So I've got 2 things to consider. I've got the aerial here. I've actually bought this. This is a 0.5 metre aerial cable I purchased off eBay, and the 12 volt power socket. Now I would actually like a 12 volt power socket somewhere around there just to use with other things potentially. So I've got the aerial nearby fixed to the roof, the Vision Plus 360 degrees aerial, and what I'm thinking about is hiding the aerial connector in there just behind the curtain rail, so hopefully the curtain should close without too much interference. I'm glad I've left that gap actually, because there's sufficient clearance for them to just tuck around the television set. Well, I've removed a bit of material with a drill, and we've got this cable through for the aerial, and we're going to terminate it into this box. So I've got the outer screen to the left wrapped round and the inner core pinched with a screw on the right, and do actually check that there's none of the outer screen touching the inner screen, or you will get a naff picture, or indeed the innard if it's going through there and it can short on there. So do be careful when doing this that you've got nothing shorting out. So I've connected that, and I think it's not going to be totally out of sight, but it's going to be fine. I think I'll just screw that to the wall like that. And now we've got the power cable to worry about. Well, I did have another rethink regarding concealment, and I think I've achieved it. It's actually screwed into the cupboard above, and the screws haven't penetrated, so that's good. And it can also be used, it doesn't have to be an angled one, but the angled one's really, the aerial cable what's angled's really coming into its own there. I'm quite pleased with that. Well, it's just a case of constant decision making, this install. I have noticed the 12 volt power cable I've got with the TV does protrude quite a lot. Originally I did have it in mind to be around here. It's just asking for somebody to knock it as they enter the seating, so I think it's going to have to go higher up somewhere. Well, we've gone through with a 25mm bit, so it looks a bit of a mess. We're a bit rough around the edges, but when we put the socket in, it looks absolutely fantastic. And it neatens everything up immensely. And the plan is to run an inline fuse straight to the leisure battery, but unfortunately I don't have the parts to complete this job today. I am actually thinking about some angled spade connectors as well. I may order some of them just so it's not protruding too far in this cupboard. Well, I have ever so slightly bent these brackets. I tend to do it at the top so it's easier to get in, and then it just nips up as you drop the television set in, but don't go too mad, there's very little clearance. So here is the finished look of the television with reasonably well concealed cables, with the exception of the aerial cable to the left. I'm quite pleased with that installation, and I'm really looking forward to finishing off on the power. But we may as well give it a test and see if all our work has paid off. So we'll plug the television into this box of tricks and switch it on. It is actually on standby, so it's drawing a bit of power, and I'm pleased to see that we have got a picture. I'm actually overjoyed that all is well. Now we've got a few channels available. And many thanks for watching this video. If you are interested in this particular smart TV, I do have a video about it and I have reviewed it for you to see, and you can view that video just here. Well, I'm quite pleased with how that TV installation has gone. Many thanks for watching, and why not subscribe to my channel?